What is up, Tube? Welcome to Low Guido's Chop Shop, where we are looking at cardboard box. This cardboard box is belonging to that of an SR-15 from CYMA. This particular SR-15 from CYMA has also been modified by Azrael's somewhat. Let's open the box and have a look. What have we got? Oh, can't open it. Alright, there we go. We have a instruction manual. Cool. Is it an instruction manual? Yeah. A rough guide. A rough guide. And then inside here we have the blaster. And it comes fully equipped with the ever important orange muzzle tip here. Black blaster in a black box doesn't do real good for the camera, but we'll just show you that it does come with a pair of safety goggles, some gel balls, a little bottle for growing your gel balls, a battery. That's a big thing, man. Like these days, having a battery come with a blaster is a big thing. Like a lot of blasters are coming with no battery these days, so it's good to see them with a battery. Battery charger, albeit a small USB one. Will probably take a while to charge, but it is an 11 volt charger and an 11 volt battery, which is also good. I like 11 volts. I don't even use 7.4. And mag and blaster. Alright, I'm going to pop all this stuff out and we'll take a look at it on the bench. Alright, this is a relatively big boy. So much so that I cannot fully fit it in the frame without going a little bit sideways here. But taking a look at the blaster, I haven't done a lot of CYMA. I've done a lot of CYMA stuff, and I feel like CYMA is a pretty good budget entry-level type of blaster in some guises, but this is definitely one of their more high-end products. This is the higher end of the CYMA range. Got a couple of nice flip-up iron sights on it. I like those. It's got the little peephole. It's actually a Scar style rear peephole that I like. That's cool. M-lock handguard, alloy handguard, metal barrel. I want to say magnetic. Let me get a magnet. Alloy, yeah, alloy. Alloy barrel, steel flash hider, steel QD post attachment, QD. Yeah, QD post attachment point there. And you can see here, lasered on is the King Arms, well, Azrael's King Arms logo. If you have a look at this. They've snuck their little logo in there. Cute. Alright, metal receiver, alloy receiver. Pretty reasonable looking quality. The fitment's got a little bit of a gap here, but it's nice and tight at the back, so it's not too bad. It's definitely not the worst I've seen. The ejection port and the faux bolt functions. Does the bolt catch? No, I don't think it does. No, it does not. Worth noting, I've already actually changed this charging handle. This is not the stock charging handle that comes on this. Spoiler alert, I've had it out of the box before. This is the stock charging handle. It is metal. It is a nice charging handle, but I've swapped it out already and I wasn't going to swap it back to standard for the video. The magazine is metal on the outside, plastic on the inside. I've seen this kind of mag before. This mag is very familiar to me. What does this mag remind me of? Reminds me of one of the... There's another brand that does like this exact same style of mag. I feel like it's... I can't think of it, but I've seen this mag before. Almost identical to this. Anyway. Looks like a nice mag. Clicks in nice, alright, yeah. The quality of the grip looks pretty mid. Looks nice, but I don't know, it's got a plasticky look to it. Same as the stock has a bit of a plasticky look to it as well. It is adjustable. Buffer tube looks pretty nice. That's a nice castle nut. One of the nicer ones I've seen. Stock does have a bit of a plasticky feel to it. However, it is having a very cool function in that it allows you to access the battery hole, or battery holes I should say. If you're running a nunchuck, you can actually run into these side holes as well as the center down here. Cables are in here. There is a little fuse in there as well, fuse holder. Nice spot for that to be. I might just pop this battery in here, get it connected up, and then we can have it ready to do a bit of testing. I do like having the stock being able to open up, get to the battery without having to take the whole thing off. I think it's a nice touch. Sling loops look like they're steel. Get my magnet again, check it out. Yeah, nice and solid. They don't look like, maybe not the best, but better than a lot that I've seen that are not as solid, that's for sure. You can see there's a little gas block here and a gas tube inside this handguard. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see it? There is one in there. Gives it a nice realism, but serves no real purpose. Alright, let's take a close-up, shall we? Take a bit of a close-up. Oh, you can see that M-lock handguard. Just down in there you can see that gas tube. Shiny chrome gas tube. There's the engraving. Metal pressed magazine. All the details. Look at that castle nut. I love that castle nut. Flip up sights. The elevation adjustment. Cute touch. Very nice. All the way down to that stock. Another QD spot down there. Overall, fairly impressed with the quality of this blaster. Let's take a look at this mag. It's got one of those pop top mags which you kind of need a bit of a fingernail to open. We'll fill this up with some gels, some Orbeez. If you're unaware of what gel blasters are, they are a toy blaster that fires soft Orbeez, and I'll grab some Orbeez now and load this up so that we can take it to the chrono. I've got some Orbeez here for you. These are a super absorbent polymer that squash down to pretty much nothing on impact. Fairly harmless, and they just roll into there. Well, this is awkward. This is usually where I'd have chrono footage. However, due to some sort of technical error on my part, I seem to be missing the first chrono footage. You'll just have to take my word for it when I say it was hitting a peak of 313 FPS, but it had a wild inconsistent spread all the way down to 200 FPS throughout the test. Unfortunately, I altered the gearbox during the course of the video, so I can't go back and reshoot the initial chrono test, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Well, not too bad on the peak power. A little all over the shop on consistency, but we might be able to suss something out with that. We'll see how we go when we open it up, see what it's like inside. So I'm going to remove the magazine and of course the battery, and then start popping this apart with start with the front pin. That is a tight pin. I might need some tools to get to that. I will just pop this battery out here. Alright, I did mention that it is an 11 volt battery. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan. I like 11 volts. I don't mess around with those lower voltages. So interestingly, I can already see inside here that we are sporting a cast alloy gearbox. Now that is interesting for a number of reasons, but we'll get to that as we take this apart. Alright, upper separates from the lower fairly easily. It's an interesting little nozzle it's got there. Barrel, I'll measure that one. It's quite a long one. Wonder what the ID is. I'll check that with my calipers in a moment. Oh, this is interesting. They've turned down the end. I don't know why they've done that. Why have they done that? Is that something to make it fit in the barrel, and like does it match up with the... Oh, I think it must have, like, it must be neck down at the end here or something. Let me see if I can unscrew this. This unscrew? Oh, it's got a grub screw. Right. So I'll have to undo a grub screw, but not quite sure why they've done that. It does make it a bit of a pain for fitting hop-ups if this is neck down, because most hop-ups are designed to fit on like a 9.5mm diameter external diameter. And if you neck it down, then the hop up, well, you have to get a specific hop up that fits it, which is uncommon. So yeah, we got a 9.5 OD, and then for some reason they neck it down to 8.6. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but yeah, from 9.5 down to 8.6, and the ID is a 7.5. Oh, actually it's a bit more, 7.6. 7.6? Yeah. There you go, 7.6. So it's a fairly big ID. And it is a long barrel too. So I wonder if they've done that long barrel, big ID. I don't know. It's been, I don't know what that bit is. It's been radiused here at the front, which is interesting. It looks like a cast zinc alloy, some description. Been radiused. I guess that's probably done by Azrael's aftermarket. I don't think CYMA would have done that at the factory. That's what is that? Little plastic shim piece in there. Probably just to keep the gearbox nice and tight. In the back of the receiver there. Let's pull this apart a bit more and see what we can see inside there. This spring doesn't look factory either. That looks like a maybe an M100 or something in there. Alright, we'll continue taking this apart. Handguard's nice. Alright, what do we got here? Alright, I might just take this stock off if I can. It seems to have built-in stop. There we go. Get it off. It's not too bad. Definitely not the worst stock I've come across. Now, this buffer tube, I have undone this screw in here, and it doesn't seem to be loosening the buffer tube at all. So I wonder if this is actually like, if this castle nut is a legit castle nut, or is something else going on here that I am not seeing. Okay, so it appears that this castle nut is, I think this is a legit castle nut, and that is what's holding the buffer tube on, and there's no center screw down the middle there, which I realised when I put the hex key down here and realised that I could actually push it all the way into the spring there. So, what I will do then in this case, I'll probably just leave this buffer tube attached, and I'll should be able to slide the gearbox forward once I've removed the motor and everything. So what I'll do is I'll take the motor out next. It looks like we've got some 2 mils, 2 mil hex keys. Yes. No, they're not hex. They're not hex. They are indeed Torx. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that, CYMA? Torx. And I'm going to head back around over to this side again because this is where my microphone is. So, alright, so T8 Torx screws. Plastic base plate, self-tapping screws into plastic, lowest common denominator base plate there. Kind of goes with this lowish quality looking grip, but that is what it is. Okay, we've got a little motor here which has got standard magnets and a D pinion sintered alloy. Looks like it's already got a little bit of wear in it. Haven't had it that long, so there shouldn't really be too much wear. Anyway, looks like they're Phillips screws in here, which is what we come to expect. Torx screws on the base and Phillips screws in the top. I'm not sure of the specs of that motor, but it does look a little bit low end. Looks can be deceiving. It doesn't look like it's a really high-end motor though. Standard magnets, this sort of pressed, galvanized kind of can. I don't know what that metal is. All right. Rear pin. Hopefully, can pop this out. Now the pins are retained, which is kind of cool. Saves you from losing them. Now, do I have to remove this? Yes, I do. Okay, so mag release has to be undone, and it is, of course, a Torx, but it's a different size Torx. It's a T6 Torx, and of course, my T6 Torx comes in the form of a little Allen key style. Remove that alloy mag release. Of course, not before we knock this center pin out. Don't forget that. It's quite important. It is knurled on one end. It's knurled on this end, and it is quite firm, so I might need a knocking device. There we go. Was a firm one. Now, and this rear plastic piece did just sort of come out. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Should be able to get this. Ah, interesting. Okay, so there is a alright, okay, so the bolt release, despite not actually catching or releasing, it does go all the way across, and it is in the way. So that's gonna have to come out. Alright, okay, so fortunately that one actually just came right out without any issues whatsoever. Alright, see, it does go all the way across. It's a long boy that goes all the way across the other side, even though there's no slide, there's no bolt catch or anything, just all the way across, just to get in your way for no real reason. Okay, and now we've just got to make sure that the wiring from the buffer tube and everything comes free. You'll have to push that through. I was hoping that I'd be able to slide this wire from the buffer tube through to get this gearbox out, but it does appear that the gap that it slides through here is just a little too tight to get it through, so I think I am going to have to take this buffer tube off, which I was trying to avoid, but it is what it is. Comes off. Alright. Well, that was very easy. This doesn't, what? How is this? So it's, I've loosened the castle nut, and that's loosened. It has loosened this buffer tube, but oh, what? Okay, that is a new one on me. That is a new one on me. So it's like a bayonet fitting. Oh wow, okay, I've never seen this before. Okay, this is cool. This is kind of cool. I like new things. So I was expecting that this buffer tube would screw in to the receiver, and then you tighten the castle nut to hold it in the receiver, and that's the way that the real deal works. However, it allows for this buffer tube to be on different angles, and it's a bit of a pain sometimes, because when you're assembling it, you got to make sure the angle of this buffer tube is correct so that it, you know, doesn't get all wonky on you. But this is actually like you undo this, and then it allows you to take it off like a bayonet fitting. It just sort of on and twist, and then once it's on and twist, it locks back against these when you do the castle nut up, and it can't be in the wrong spot. The bayonet lug locks it in to being straight. Okay, well that's kind of cool. I like that. And incidentally, now we should be able to very easily remove the cabling because we've got a much larger opening to run the cabling through. Well, that was cool, and I learnt something new. I like it. I like it. I've honestly not seen that before. Then again, like I said, I haven't really dealt with CYMA much. That could be a CYMA thing. Is anyone else noticing that this whole cast metal gearbox is housing a circuit board with metal terminals on it that is ever so close to being a short. There's some blue grease inside that gearbox, which I'm going to assume, if this has been opened by Azrael's, which I think it may have, that's from them. They would have done that. But these springs, so close to short. I mean, obviously they're not, because if they were, we'd have all sorts of problems. But the metal case is alarmingly close to those springs. And everywhere I touch on this gearbox has got blue grease on it. Not such a bad thing, at least we know it's been greased. Alright, now I've heard that the CYMA cast gearboxes are like up there with being some of the best cast gearboxes in terms of strength. However, on face value alone, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. This doesn't look particularly high quality casting to me, but like I said, on face value alone, could be wrong. Here's the the switch for the mag prime is here. So obviously when you pull the charging handle, something comes back, and is it the little bolt? Oh, it must be. Must be this. Yeah. Must be this little piece here. I don't know if you can see it, just this little piece here on the bolt. When you pull that back, it must bring, yeah. Okay. Good to know, good to know. Ah, interesting. So if you do get rid of that faux bolt, you'll lose your ability to have a mag prime. That's interesting to know. Alright. Oops. Off camera. Alright, let's get this spring out. I already know that it's a 5mm, 6mm. I already had it on there before. 6mm. 6mm hex to get that out, because I already had it when I was looking down the buffer tube. That, pretty sure that's an M100, just by the looks and feels of it. We got the mag priming wire down here. I say mag priming, it'd be the negative portion for the magazine terminals. And then it does look like it's a mechanical lockout. No electronics or anything in there. Although it is cute that the terminal plate has its own little circuit board, its own little PCB. Alright, let's get into this. We'll remove the little switch for the magazine priming, or at least push it out of the way. And then get to these Phillips screws. They're alarmingly loose fitted. Like, really loose. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but like with very little force from my fingers. That one required a little bit more. Looked like it might have had something, looked like it had a bit of red on there. Could have been a little bit of Loctite or something on there. But yeah, these ones alarmingly loose. Ooh. Editing Guido here again. It wasn't until after I reassembled the blaster the first time that I realized there is a flaw in this gearbox, and the gearbox is too tight around the anti-reverse catch, and if you do torque the screws down to the correct specification, it actually jams the AR latch and doesn't allow it to work properly. So the only way to get the AR latch to operate is to have the screws loose around the AR latch, which isn't ideal, but that's obviously why these screws were loose. I didn't find that out until after I'd put everything back together and tested it, but that's a bit of a flaw, and I guess you could probably modify something inside the gearbox, so I'll have to have a look further into that. A lot more loose than I would have expected anyway. Alright, hopefully I can take the top half of this off and leave the bottom half on. Yes. Yes, that is what I will do. Okay, so we have shims. We have a reasonably good looking gear set. It's got a metal rack on the piston. I'm a little bit confused as to how there's so much grease everywhere but on this spur gear. Seems to like, has it thrown it off, or like, why is there grease like all through this gearbox but not on the gear? Seems to be the common theme here. I might spruce that up a bit with some more grease. But let's have a look. Let's have a look at this air seal while we're here. Got nylon cylinder head, nylon tappet plate. I'm just gonna wind this back. Looks like we've got a little bit of engagement correction here with a washer. Also a washer in there. Just sit on the spring. Usually there would be a, right, okay. So that's like a thrust washer. They've got a thrust washer here and a thrust washer here. In lieu of bearings, they're going with thrust washers. No O-ring on the nozzle. I'm just going to get rid of that for a sec. Actually, reasonable. It's got a fairly reasonable seal. Yeah, it's not too bad. This cylinder head is very, like, it floats, so it's hard to kind of get a good bead on whether or not it's got a good seal, because the cylinder head sort of wants to move around. When it's in the gearbox, it's not going to do that, obviously. Just when you're doing it by hand, it does seem a bit hard to deal. So yeah, like, it's a pretty good seal. I think maybe we could get a bit of this grease that's like all over the gearbox and just get it down in here. Get it around. Get it around this nozzle. Get it, yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Get a bit of a seal around there. There's no O-ring there. Just gonna try and get a bit of that grease on there. That'll give it a nice bit of a seal. And see what I can do with this. I'll be back. Alright, I have just changed out the O-ring on this cylinder head for a slightly larger one, and I've liberally greased the nozzle, the inside of the nozzle there, and the air seal is significantly better. It's still, the nozzle's still, yeah, look at that. So, I mean, the seal in the cylinder is perfect now. The nozzle now is its only downfall. But it's not too bad. That grease helps. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. Right, now that we're in the box, even with the nozzle forward, because, you know, a lot of you know that the real test is when the nozzle is forward. Not bad. Not bad. So even with the nozzle forward there, we're getting pretty good air seal in there. Alright, well, call that a win. I'm going to pop this back together. There are shims. There's shims. It's been shimmed somewhat. I'll check how good that is in a sec. But it looks reasonable. I'll get a bit of grease into these gears as well. I also got to say that I am impressed with the staying power of these gears, as in the fact that they stay where you put them. A lot of gearboxes, everything flies out when you take it apart, and putting it back together can be a bit of a pain as well. It's always nice when things all line up and pop back together like that. That is nice. Okay, I'll pop these screws back in. I'm going to try and maybe give them a little bit more torque. Not over torquing them, but they just seemed like they were super duper loose. Alright, got it back together. Yep, okay. The gear shimming feels pretty tight. Look, I would say this is at least as good as any other cast gearbox that I've seen on the market. So, yeah, not bad. Not bad. I don't know why I always sort of avoid CYMA. Maybe they just don't make anything that I particularly like, but yeah, I haven't done a lot of CYMA stuff, but reasonably impressive. It'll be interesting to see how this top section here lasts, especially with this screw located right here. So there's been a bit of radiusing done at the front here, but none at the back here, probably because there's not a lot of space here to actually radius anything, and this screw right there is going to be a potential weak point. Also, this screw here introduces a weak point in this front. That's a very APS thing to do. I think APS have a screw in the middle there. Not really sure why. It's not really that necessary. Either way, I'll pop this all back together in the blaster, and I'll see you in a moment. Alright, well, overall, the CYMA SR-15, not too shabby at all. I was reasonably impressed with the quality of the externals. Not too bad. The cast gearbox, probably on par with most other cast gearboxes, and as long as you don't overspring it, you shouldn't have too many issues. As long as you just keep it at a, you know, acceptable FPS, which is usually below field limits anyway. You should be okay with that gearbox for a while. It'll be interesting to see though how it does last. Maybe I might have to break one of these for science. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, not too shabby. I guess I'll pop a few more through the chrono. For those of you who like me to do that after I've adjusted air seals and stuff like that. Again, we're not expecting gains. We're not expecting big gains. The only gains we should hope to expect is maybe gains in consistency, perhaps. So let's crack that out and have a go. Alright, here we go. What do we got? Alright. Max of 334, min of 276, and an average of 315. Let's take a look at those. Okay. That seems to be coming out a little bit more consistent than it was initially. So, result. Alright, so all in all, not too bad. The old CYMA. Like I said, I haven't had a lot to do with CYMAs, and I gotta say, I really love that buffer tube system with the hybrid between the castle nut and the bayonet fitting. That is awesome. I don't know how many times I've had to get like extended extra long screwdrivers down the buffer tube to get to that screw on most other blasters. This system is so much better. I like it. Yeah, I wish all blasters had that system. That is cool. That's my favorite part of this blaster by far. Other than that, I was pleasantly surprised by the rest of the blaster. The quality of the handguard and everything seems pretty nice. The barrel and I mean, I didn't like the fact that the inner barrel's necked down. That makes hop-ups a little bit difficult, but it's not hard to change a barrel. You can just change that out to whatever. The magazine is, seems quite nice with the pressed metal finish. Oh, some gel's falling out of it. Yeah, and for what it's worth, while I'm here, I might just quickly show you how to clear these magazines out as well. I've literally just chronoed this, so there's probably still some gels in there. You can undo this little Allen screw at the bottom here and slide off the base plate. Might be a bit tricky if you haven't done it before. Actually, you might not even have to take the base plate off. You can just slide it upwards like this. There we go. Take care of that nut there, because that goes actually goes in the bottom here, because that's what your screw screws into, and then that's what holds the mechanism into the bottom there. But you can see here, there's the wheel, and any gels that might be in the feeding tube, there they are, will be there, and any gels that might be stuck behind the wheel there, you can see. In this case, we're pretty clear, just the ones that were in the tube. Easy, worth checking out after each game, just so that you don't get dried up gels in there. Or if you do get dried up gels in there, it's easy enough to take this apart and service it. Alright, and this magazine does have these little plastic shims around the top, which probably should be glued in, but they're not for some reason. These actually help to wedge the magazine or the internals into the shell, and then of course you just whack your... I put the nut back in off camera, by the way, because there's a little bit of a reach for me to do it from behind the tripod here. And it's probably worthwhile just putting a dab of glue on all of those internal bits, the shims and the nut on the inside, but it's worth knowing that you can pull those mags down and service them or clean them. Alright, well, I think that's about it for me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can buy a patch. Where's my patches? Oh, there they are. They fell off the table. You can buy a patch from me by contacting me on Loguido's Chopters on Facebook. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, you can buy me a coffee in the link below. There is a link to buy me a coffee. I've got to give some shout outs to my coffee supporters. Shout outs to Adam Hoy. Adam Hoy, as always, legend. Shout outs to Steve Hyde. And shout outs to Don Midgley. all legends who have bought me a coffee, thank you very much, and peace.